I came across a clip this week, and Drew, if you can show it, but I thought it was interesting. So they had the war room of the Philadelphia Eagles, and I'll tell you, in this season, we love watching the NFL. We all love it, but the reason the Chiefs have been there is you got to have a GM and whatnot that hires the right coach, and you got to get the right quarterback, and you got to get the right players. And obviously Kansas City has done very well at that. The Eagles are at about the top of the level with that. They hire the right people. And it was cool. They kind of show behind the scenes when they're doing the draft room about how much they wanted Cooper DeJean. And it was cool to watch them, and they're sitting there kind of sweating bullets. They're like, okay, we got 2 picks. We got 1 pick before. And when they got him and the Rams took Fisk, they were so excited, and it was just cool to see. And so I loved watching the whole behind the scenes. My question for you, if you as a fan could go to watch your team play in the Super Bowl, would you rather go to that or be in the draft room to see all the behind the scenes things, to see who's on the boards and all that kind of stuff? What would you rather do?
Okay, so I actually thought about this deeper.
Okay.
And it'd be different if you were offering like sideline passes to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Because this is the thing, is like we've talked about going to the Super Bowl a couple times.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we've talked about going to the Super Bowl in the 3 last years.
Yes.
You know?
Next year, we're going to Levi. We're taking all of us. We're going to go to Levi and then watch it in a hotel room.
But this has been my argument every single time we've talked about going to the Super Bowl. We're going to pay $15,000 to sit in the nosebleeds.
Per ticket, yeah.
And you're not even going to see the game that
No.
well. And then you're going to be like, oh, we won the Super Bowl. You're going to be excited. And we don't drink.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do after the
Right.
game? We're going to go enjoy, the crowd coming out of the game, and they're all excited and fun. But, everyone's going to be hammered by that time. We're probably going to get annoyed pretty quickly with how many crazy things are going on.
Right.
And then we're probably just going to go home.
Right.
So you don't really get that great of a view of the game.
Right.
And then you don't even really get to celebrate the situation afterwards.
Right.
Because people are way too far gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, it'd be cool to be there. The only big part that'd be really cool is if you were there right before the game and doing that, tailgating right before,
Sure.
That would be kind of cool. But obviously if you were sideline, that's a completely different. Then you got 2 pluses versus 2 minuses, you know?
Yeah, sure.
But I'm a numbers guy. I'm a numbers guy through and through. I love the draft. We've talked about the draft a lot. And we will continue to probably talk about the draft on this podcast just because it's so interesting to see how teams grade players. And it's, the thing is you truly win football games in the offseason.
Absolutely.
Going back to Kansas City, you don't get a chance to win 3 Super Bowls without drafting extremely well because you can't sign everybody and pay everybody.
Yep.
So if you can't draft well, you're not going to keep going back, right?
Yep.
And anyways, for me, it's so interesting to watch how these GMs, owners, and they're right there with each other, the coaches, all there, and how they grade these players is just so cool.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I would love to go to the draft. To me, and unless it was some ridiculous Super Bowl passes, like you say.
Yeah.
And I'd love to go to the Super Bowl. Thing about the Super Bowl is I can watch it from my couch and I get a zoomed in version of the whole game. And it's comfortable. You don't have to worry about the weather and all that kind of stuff. The week would be cool to be a part of the Super Bowl, but the draft would be awesome. Yeah. It would be cool to see the trades that are made and that were almost made and that were not made.
Yeah.
Watching teams hope for a player to drop, and how many teams don't make a trade up and that player gets picked right before them, or how many teams trade more than they need to trade up when they could have just got their same player at the same position. I just think that chess match. I think the other thing is, I've gone on NFL draft chart about 4,000 times.
Oh yeah.
And everybody puts their GM hat on and says, okay, if we traded this for this and this for this and this for this. And so anyway, I would definitely do a draft war room. That would be a dream for me to do that. I'd sign my life away saying I'll never say anything that you ever happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to do that. Cameron, what about you? Would you rather go to the war room or to your team's Super Bowl?
I think both would be cool, but like you were saying, I think it depends on the seating for the Super Bowl. I personally, um, man, I don't know. I feel like with the Super Bowl, it would be fun, but like you were saying, I could watch it at home and get the same experience.
Yeah.
And then with the draft, I don't know, if I didn't prepare at all and like they just threw me in the room and I know nothing about any of these kids.
That wouldn't be fun.
What
Right.
they're just throwing names at me and I don't know
Yeah.
anything, you know. So unless I'm like super invested in college football, which usually I'm not, that's not going to be like a huge like this is so cool type thing.
Yeah.
But if I was to know that I was going to go there and was able to prepare a little bit, I think I would enjoy the draft more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's been times where, so when Jerry Rice was drafted, there was like 3 receivers, I think, at the time. And so the 49ers were at a spot and they're kind of moving into certain selections. And a lot of these teams are like, okay, we know there's 3 good receivers, so we're going to be okay as long as we get to pick 11 because we're at 13 or 14 and we'll take whoever's left over. And then to see where they fall after the fact would be cool. I also, there's been many times where teams, you know, they're sweating bullets, especially earlier on. We really like Cooper DeJean. They really wanted him.
Yeah.
And to see the enthusiasm as soon as they pick Fisk, they're like, yes,
Yeah.
we got him. And you look, pick 6 in the Super Bowl made the biggest, a huge difference for them. And then you've got to see where just to watch the whole aura of the mood change when that player gets picked right before you.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, we're going to go with Tommy instead.
Yeah.
That's great. And they kind of do their fake
Yeah.
clap afterwards and say, crap, we should have given up the 5th round pick to move up. Anyway.
It's really cool in the fact that with like the Cooper DeJean one specifically, they actually talked about the fact that they took Quinyon Mitchell in the 1st round and they actually felt so strongly about Cooper DeJean. They tried to move back up into the 1st round that night to go get Cooper, and they're like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, they went home, and every single person came back, and they're like, we couldn't sleep right last night thinking about letting Cooper DeJean not get picked.
Wow.
And they were like, we have to move up early in the 2nd round, which they did. They moved up, 8 picks into the 2nd round, 9
Yep.
picks in the 2nd round. But what's really cool about the Cooper DeJean and the Rams taking Braden Fisk is now we look back and Braden Fisk ends up being almost a defensive player of the year.
Yep.
So does Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
So you have 2 teams where it's like, the Eagles are all excited because they took Braden Fisk and not
Yeah.
Cooper DeJean. But what the Eagles don't know is Braden Fisk actually ends up almost winning defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Or rookie defensive player of the year. And it's just a cool thing,
Well, that's the other thing that's cool about the draft is you look, those are 2nd round picks that were, if you redrafted, would be picked massively higher, both of those picks.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what's fun about watching is which player is picked 1, 2, or 3 that should have gone in the 3rd, 4th round, maybe don't play very much, and which ones in the 3rd, 4th round would have gone in the 1st round. And so it's fun to watch. I think it's remarkable. So I love the draft. I love the behind the scenes. I would just love to see how people are hoping and where people. I'd also love to see if they're watching the broadcast because every year there's a couple teams where people are like, what is Atlanta thinking paying Cousins that much money and then taking a rookie quarterback, and just seeing what their reaction would be.
Yeah.
Like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. We're doing that. I would love to see the back and forth.
Yeah.
So. Hey, thanks for watching the clip. I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit the subscribe button. It helps us get out our content and you'll get everything new that comes out with us. Thanks again.